practicing law as a corporate real estate lawyer. So this is a blessing compared to that uh, way of spending time. Um, Different ways we can practice meditation, and with the what I experience is a lot of turbulence in my close field and the larger collective. I'm tending to lean into a style of practice we call shamatha practice, where shamatha means tranquility. And so the many hallmarks of shamatha practice, but one of the hallmarks is a kind of loyalty and dedication to the object of meditation. I'm really trying to help the mind be steady. This also like gives us a nervous system kind of reset and move from flight, freeze to rest and digest. But what really aids this is loyalty to the meditation object. So I'm going to guide using the breath, the favorite object or tradition. And if every time you notice that the attention wanders, just see if you can just let go of whatever the thing is that pulled the mind away and just come right back to the breath. In contrast to if we were doing a more vipassana forward meditation, we might investigate, might drop in a label, planning, might feel into the body, some anxiety that's driving the planning. Also, very fruitful practice, but there's more movement of the mind in that practice. And in the shamatha practice, we're encouraging more stability of the mind. So, loyalty to the meditation object. The other thing that really supports um, tranquility is being comfortable, having a posture that's as supportive as it can be, sitting, standing, walking, or lying down, all invited. And then another thing that supports tranquility is joy. Seems strange, but uh, actually, if there is any kind of joy already here, maybe just even the joy of okayness, like it doesn't have to be some big, bubbly, effervescent thing, but maybe a place in the body that is relaxed, some feeling of, in the neighborhood of contentment or joy. Um, you can kind of rest in that, like some awareness of that feeling of okayness. It's a lot easier to be here if here is, like more or less okay, but not required. The practice also, joy is a supporting condition of the practice, but also joy is one of the results of the practice. So let's begin the meditation by just turning the attention inward and noticing that there's a body, you have a body, in a body. Tuning in to what sensations are already present. Maybe sensing into the way the body is connected to the earth, the solidity of the floor underneath your feet, the weight of your body in your seat. And then taking a few intentionally deeper breaths, and on the exhale, just softening. Softening any muscle or part of the body that can be softened, even 1 iota. Be softening the forehead, unclenching the jaw. Maybe allowing the shoulders to go back and down even a fraction of an inch. And letting the belly hang freely. And then resting the attention on the feeling of the breath, moving in and out of the body. And letting everything else just fade into the background. So we're resting in a simplicity of breathing in, aware of the in-breath, breathing out, aware of the out-breath. The relaxed attentiveness to the experience of breathing. Not trying to make anything happen. No need for any special effort. Just receiving. On the inhale, knowing, feeling, sensing the breath coming into the body. On the exhale, knowing, feeling, sensing the breath leaving the body. And I find it very helpful to use a mantra. Mantra I use is Bu Do, is the Buddha within. And so coordinating the inner sound with the breath, inhaling boo, exhaling do. Giving the mind a little task to do in lieu of regular thinking. And letting the sound, inner sound, if you use it to be like a kind of a whisper. So the predominant experience is the sensation of breathing. Could also use something like in and out. Just more moments of mind contact with the experience. Anytime the mind is distracted, just letting go, whatever it is that pulled you away, and coming back to the simplicity of breathing in, aware of the in breath, breathing out, aware of the out breath, and everything else is more or less in the background. Always coming back to this posture of receiving the sensations of the inflow and the outflow. Maybe you feel it in the belly or the rise and fall of the chest. Maybe you feel air at the nose or the upper lip. Maybe a sense of following the path of the breath through various parts of the body. Or maybe even the sense of the whole body breathing, as if every cell in the body were actually breathing. There's nowhere to go, nothing you have to get or get rid of, and no one you have to be. Actually, just to be alive is enough. As we practice steadying the mind, we can also practice meeting whatever is arising with an inner smile, kind of friendliness, the smile that greets an old friend. As we come to the end of our period of formal practice, just inviting you to bring to mind someone or something that you're grateful for. And if it's a person or another living being, maybe sensing into what it's like to be in their presence. And then connecting with gratitude as a felt sense in the body. Noticing where gratitude resides, the energetic uplift of a moment of gratitude. And maybe even allowing that feeling of gratitude to pervade more and more of the body. In a moment, I'll ring the bell to signify the transition. Sometimes when I hear a bell, there's something that stops, some capacity that I turn off. See if you can continue the posture of attentiveness, of presence through the transition. Oh, thank you for your practice. Today, I wanted to talk about wise effort and many, many things that could be said about wise effort. So, this little like some tips of the iceberg. Um, One way we think about effort is how much effort are we expending? You know, like there's some effort required, some initiating effort, to learn to practice, to show up here, to come back to the breath again and again and again. Um, if we're just phoning it in, that's no good. There's got to be some modicum of effort. But then if we're really straining to try to have some experience, pushing, straining to be relaxed or calm, it doesn't work, of course. Um, but they used an analogy for this. Is talking to Sona, the lute player, who appears in this little image. And he asks Sona, what happens if your string is too loose? Do you get a good tone from the instrument? Donna says, no, you don't. What happens if the string's too tight? You don't get a good tone. That there's this sweet spot, we might say the middle way of enough effort. So there's some progress, there's some forward movement, uh, but not so much effort that it becomes kind of contracted, straining, agitating. If you have, if your meditation practice causes a headache, that's a good sign that you might be straining unnecessarily hard. And in the story of the Buddha, he went too far. He engaged in these ascetic practices, taking just a morsel of food. At one point, he thought that breathing was kind of overindulgent and luxurious, so he tried to like hold his breath and take in as little air as possible. And this was kind of the prevailing view at the time, and some places still is this prevailing view. This kind of mortification of the body was the way we could free ourselves from um, the clinging that causes suffering. Uh, and then he had a moment, where it was kind of near death. And some of the more colorful legends that came later, he like these celestial beings, these devas, were kind of feeding him nectar, hoping that he wouldn't die. Uh, but he had a realization that there had to be a better way. This kind of extreme renunciation was not fruitful. And this is actually where the idea of the middle way came, like not too soft, not too tight, some ardency, but not too much. Um, and I think this is a really important exploration in our own practice. Not only sort of like the quantity of effort or the intensity of effort, but also like where are we applying our effort? So in a meditation practice like the one we just did together, um, very, very fruitful to apply ardent, diligent effort to the beginning again. Not so fruitful to sort of clamp down on the object of meditation, to really like force the mind to be present. You can kind of force the mind, temporarily to pay attention. It becomes like that. Is that horrible movie with where they have the person's eyes like propped open and looking at images? It sort of becomes like that. This is like a low grade form of torture. Um, There's ongoing investigation of not only how much effort, but where is the application of effort skillful? And it's very mysterious when we meditate. It's like the mind wanders. Of course, the mind's wandering. If the mind wasn't wandering, we would be doing a different practice. Um, the fact that the mind's wandering, we sometimes perceive it as a problem, but in fact, the meditation is the antidote. The moment that you notice that the mind is caught in thought, kind of like you're lost in thought, caught in thought. The moment that there's a recognition that's happened is that you're no longer lost. It's a moment of awakening. And how a moment for celebration, like it's this moment that so many of us habitually used as a moment for self-flagellation or frustration. I'm not doing it, can't do it, it's so hard, is actually we're missing the moment of liberation, the moment where we spontaneously became free of the trance of thought. Not something we efforted it to do. I don't know. It's very mysterious. One moment I'm lost in thought, the next moment a thought arises, oh, meditation. Or maybe, whoever's guiding the meditation's voice appears and that shakes us out of the trance of thought. Um, but it's an awakening. We should train ourselves to celebrate that moment of being found again, a moment where there's the opportunity to come back into presence. I would train myself to kind of smile at that moment. It's kind of a dual smile. It's a smile at the celebration of coming out of trance, but it's also a smile at the endless papancha that the mind can produce, the endless proliferation of thoughts, just on and on. And it's like almost comical how much creativity and energy the mind has to do this thing. Uh, and it's the returning again and again that's the antidote to that. Right? Encouraging the mind to be settled or stable, watching it run off, encouraging it again. It's often analogized to training a puppy. You say sit, and the puppy just runs away. Say sit, puppy just runs away. And then maybe it'll sit for a minute and then it'll run away because it's the nature of a puppy. It's going to explore, it's going to investigate things. nature of the mind, especially when sort of uncultivated, is to, you know, our ancestors had to monitor the environment for threat. So there's some of that that's sort of built into us. So it's like outward looking energy. But the application, the place for the application of effort is very clear and effortless. I could tell you to pay attention to the next word I say. Moist. So how much energy did it take to hear that word? It was like zero, right? No, um, that word is controversial. Some people probably have very unpleasant associations with that word. Other people have pleasant associations. Maybe you can take it or leave it. But the energy it takes to apply the attention to the object, the sometimes called initiating effort, Buddha had a term for this, vitaka, a directed thought, a thought that has is skillful, a thought that brings us into connection with what we're doing. And that's where the effort is most fruitful, and it's kind of effortless. You just have to remember to do it. And as we practice, we're putting into place conditions that lead to the fruits of practice. So this steadying, creating kind of steadiness. We're more or less still. The eyes are closed. There's not a lot of extra stimulation in the environment. This is like conditions that allow the mind and the heart to naturally settle. It's like a snow globe. I have the snow globe here. It's kind of like going through life as just being in a snow globe that is highly agitated. Got the news, world affairs, complexity of family and job and daily stressors of life. And we're just in this cascade of activation and stimulation. And there's no technique, there's no effort I can apply to the snow globe to try to like settle it. All those efforts actually create more agitation. But if I come into stillness, the snow globe begins to naturally settle. I mean, like I'd say I settled the snow globe, but that would be an exaggeration. It's just the nature of the snow globe is to settle when given the proper conditions. And the nature of this mind, the nature of this heart is to settle when given the proper conditions. No amount of strain is going to make your mind calm down. No amount of strain is going to make the proliferation of thought and so I think in almost everything we do, meditation is a really good analogy for this, but in almost everything we do, we can ask the question, how much effort is needed and where is that effort best applied? So that's part one of wise effort. Part two, three, four, and five to be continued. I'd love to hear any comments, reactions, reflections, questions. Yeah, you can unmute, or you can chat.
Hi, I have something.
Allison, yes.
This was actually really relevant. I was in a meditation group last night, and we got into a bit of a debate on kind of finding the balance, discipline versus offering kindness to ourselves in our practice when we don't feel like practicing. So kind of when the effort seems like too much,
Yeah.
there's also that feeling of the need for discipline in this practice to continue to get something out of it. So this was a really interesting, relevant topic today, but I guess, yeah, if you could speak on that a little bit, because we debated on it a bit of
Yeah.
like, do you be kind to yourself when the effort seems like a lot, when you're like, I just don't feel like doing this? Or do
Yeah.
you kind of hold on to that discipline? So what would you say on the right effort in that
Yeah.
situation?
Yeah. I mean, I think we want to be kind to ourselves throughout. That's sort of a given. Um, but what is it that gives us the energy and enthusiasm to initiate effort? What is it that overcomes the sort of inertia or resistance or just laziness, whatever it is for us that keeps us from sitting on the cushion? I mean, one thing is just really investigate, like, what is this resistance? Like, resistance is an experience in the body. When I experience resistance, it's just like, the thought is just don't want to do it. And then there's an emotion that's maybe sort of like grumpiness or like, slightly aversive avoidance kind of emotion. And then I can actually come into contact with, like, for me, there's a clenching of the jaw, a hollowness in the chest. Sometimes it's like a little like low grade restlessness or even high grade restlessness that, like, there's a part of the being that's thinking, I don't want to just be in this field of restlessness energy. That's one thing that can help overcome resistance is become intimate with resistance. Another thing is remembering the preciousness and fleetingness of this human life. Like, I've done a chant regularly. I did it almost every day for a decade. That was, the 5 subjects for frequent recollection. I am of the nature to age. I've not gone beyond aging. I have the nature to sicken. I've not gone beyond sickness. I am the nature to die. I've not gone beyond dying. All that is mine, beloved, will become separated from me. It's like the harsh reality of what it is to be in a human body, and like to be motivating to practice, because we're all going to go through these difficult experiences of aging and loss and separation, and practice is preparation for those. You know, if you Some of us have a baseline of like before practice and after practice, and you remember, wow, like how I went through this situation with more practice, so much more gracefully. Um, like, share that chant in the resources. It's actually quite it pivots. The fifth recollection is, I'm the heir of my karma, owner of my karma, abide supported by my karma. So it's the recognition that even though the first 4 things sound bleak, it's not all bleak, because everything we say and do and think matters and has impacts. Why the training is so helpful. The third thing I'll offer, I have many more, but the third thing I'll offer is what's really helped me is to make a commitment to take the posture of meditation every day. For a while, it was a set time. It was on my calendar for many years, 1 to 1:45, blocked off. People couldn't schedule meetings. And the commitment was I'll sit in my seat and I'll begin to meditate. And if there's too much restlessness, energy, whatever distractions, I think I just notice that, continue, and happens again. Oh, I got to do all these other things, number 2. And then the third time, I give myself grace to uh, get up and do whatever I need to do. And what almost always happened is I would sit for the allotted time, because For me, a lot of the resistance is sort of made up. And when I sit there in the soup of the resistance, it softens a little bit. That's maybe more on the discipline side, like making a vow or a sacred commitment that you'll take your seat every day, see what happens. For me, the hardest part is getting into the seat. Like literally all the excuses I'll make to not go sit on the cushion. But once I'm in the cushion, then there becomes a different kind of inertia, which is like, okay, now I'm here. Might as well practice. Um, but this is a really important investigation because without that initiating effort, there's no practice, there's no growth. If we cut ourselves slack every time, well, it's okay. I don't feel up to it. I'm be kind to myself by avoiding my meditation. Then, we're not on the path anymore at some point. To find the thing that motivates us. Sometimes I can be really motivated by a kind of faith. It's just, I have so much faith, verified faith over many years of practice that I never regret having taken my meditation seat. I never end a meditation with a thought of, oh, I should have been, whatever, checking my email instead. It just never happens. It always turns out to be the most helpful of the menu of alternatives. But what you're pointing to is the biggest challenge, initiating effort.
There was a comment in the chat as well from Jeff.
Yeah, let's see. For me, effort is about moving towards a goal. If I have a goal, I can determine if my effort is skillful or fruitful. I'm sorry if I missed it, but what's the goal in meditation? This is on one level, it's a tricky question, but on the other level, it's just the alleviation of suffering. The larger goal is the alleviation of suffering. It doesn't happen in each moment, but we're retraining the way the mind relates to the world. We're retraining the way the mind relates to experience with the aspiration that we feel more lightness of being, more joy, an inner wellspring of well-being. The Buddha used an analogy of a stream, a lake that's a little bit stagnant, and then you move a boulder at the bottom of the lake and it reveals the spring. It's sort of like a limitless refreshment of water that just bubbles up and flows. The practice can offer that. Even when like your life's a mess and the world's on fire, there could still be that kind of wellspring. So I think you're right. And it's good to have that in mind, like to have faith in the possibility of some palpable improvement. But it gets to be a tricky question when our effort is just chasing that. We're just chasing it, then it'll be elusive. But maybe something that's not talked about enough is like, do we even believe that it's possible to be free? Yeah. Free of greed, free of hatred, free of confusion. Like, that's a good starting point. Anybody want to have the final word? Thank you, everyone. Deshaun, you want to close this out?
Yes, indeed. Thank you. Thank you first, Gulu, for such a beautiful practice. Um, Lunchtime Mindfulness is a offering from BBRC, from a place of generosity. This is something that we do not charge for the teachers. They do receive a stipend for this work. However, we would say if you have benefited from this practice, we definitely invite you to offer a donation what we call dana to share your generosity. Um, the links for Gulu will be placed in the chat. There's also some upcoming retreats that you can experience for Gulu. Um, Second here.
Just like a special shout out for coming home to our senses. This is a retreat I've taught about 3 years in a row now. The last year was at BBRC with my teacher, Trudy Goodman, founder of Inside LA. It's like really nice to have her, as an elder person been practicing for a long time. A treat to be able to sit with her.
And so please check out that retreat and any of the other retreats that you can find at bigbearretreatcenter.org. Again, want to thank you, Gulu, for your time, and thank everyone for choosing to be with us here at Lunchtime Mindfulness. This happens every Wednesday at noon. Feel free to continue to be in community with us. We hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and thank you. Be well.
Thanks, everyone. See you next time.
Bye. Thank you.
Yes, please feel free to unmute and say your goodbyes.
Thank you, Gulu. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye. Thank you.